What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the best SMGs in Season 4. I feel like it's really hard to just like give a rank to SMGs, like which one's actually the best, unless there's one that stands out way above everything else. And in this case, I don't think there is. So I'm probably going to do this video a little bit different. I'm going to talk about like the top 5 SMGs that I think are all fantastic and where their strengths are. But I don't really think I can say for the most part that like one is just better than the other. In a lot of cases, specifically for SMGs. For long range guns, it's a lot easier to do that. But SMGs, there's a lot more nuance to that. But anyway, if you like my content, don't forget to like the video and drop a comment. And if you want to see more of it, just hit the subscribe button. But let's jump into it and we will talk about the best SMGs for Season 4. Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. So as a gamer, why should you have a VPN? First off, if there's a game that's not available in your country, or if there's a discount on a specific game on a specific platform, like if a certain game's on sale on Steam in a different country, then all you have to do is VPN into that country and you'll be able to get that discount as well. NordVPN is also available for any platform you can imagine, so Windows, Android, iOS, Mac OS, and Linux. Android TV even supports NordVPN, so it's available on all your different platforms, whatever you're gaming on. NordVPN also offers next generation encryption. This means that if you turn on NordVPN on your phone and you're using public Wi-Fi, all of your communications through your phone are going to be completely encrypted and not visible to anyone, even if someone has hacked the router that you're connected to as a public access point. Definitely one of the most popular uses for NordVPN would be to get access to TV shows or movies that are only available in certain countries. So whether it's on Netflix or Hulu or anything like that, all you have to do is use NordVPN to connect to that country, and instantly to the internet, it'll look like you are in that country and you'll get access to that content right away. If you're interested in trying it out, just go to nordvpn.com/truegamedata. You'll get an exclusive discount with a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. And a huge thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video and helping to support all the work that goes into the content I create and TrueGameData, the website. All right, so honestly, this video was pretty difficult for me to make. I feel like there's a lot of nuances to SMGs, especially the Vanguard SMGs with 10 attachments. It can be kind of tricky to really come up with, you know, the absolute maximum build and a good rationale behind all the things that go into that build. But I just want to go through some of the logic I use. So what makes a good SMG? So you want really fast TTK. That's like the first thing I always look at. Really fast TTK. If you don't have that, that SMG is immediately off the list, because up close fights, it's a lot easier to hit your shots. So recoil is not as important. It's still important, but it's not as important. And if you just don't have that good time to kill, then you're just going to lose fights because the other person's not going to miss, you're not going to miss, and their gun's just going to kill faster. So that's the first thing I look at. You always want good mobility as well, because you need to be able to, you know, use your movement to close the gap on people when you pull out your SMG. You also want lots of range for that TTK if that's possible. So usually they'll balance, you know, good time to kill with shorter range, so it's only effective out to, you know, 8 or 9 meters. But sometimes there's some guns that stick out that have tons of range and good time to kill. And then you also want that controllable recoil. So that's kind of a, it depends on the person. Some people don't care so much about how much recoil an SMG has because they're really up in people's faces. And then other people get in a lot of engagements like 20, 25 meters with their SMGs. And those people tend to like much lower recoil SMGs. And it's interesting over time, whenever a new game comes out. So like right when Warzone released, the MP7 got really popular. And that's because it had really, really low recoil. It had decent time to kill and good mobility. But what ends up happening, I've found over and over and over, is people start on the gun that feels really good because it has low recoil, the SMG that feels really good just because they can hit their shots. And then like a month or so later, everyone slowly transitions into the SMGs that kill really fast. So like after the MP7, people slowly transitioned into the MP5, and then everyone was using the MP5 instead of the MP7. And that was just because the time to kill was faster, even though the MP7 had, you know, it had much better recoil and it was much easier to hit your shots in mid-range. A lot of people still loved the MP7, and there are people that just prefer those kind of guns, but it tends to be the community always shifts towards the better time to kill over time. So with that in mind, I feel like there's kind of 3 ways to build these Vanguard SMGs. You basically always have to have that master stat, that TTK that's really good. So if they don't have that, they don't make the list. And then after that, you can build for like a secondary stat. There's a few different options for that. So movement and ADS movement would be the 2 most popular. Again, there's more to it than this. Obviously, you have to have good recoil. You have to be able to hit your shots. And you want your movement to be good, even if you build it for ADS movement and vice versa. But pretty much all the Vanguard SMGs have most of the ability to do either of those two, and then a few of the SMGs can do hipfire really well as also. So with all that in mind, the best SMGs right now are definitely the Type 100, the Sten, the Blixen, the Marco, the Arma, and the PPSH, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses, and I'm kind of going to break these out into categories rather than doing what I did in my previous long-range video where I basically just ranked the weapons. I don't feel like I can do that this time. I'm going to break these out into categories of types of SMGs and then maybe rank them inside those categories. Before I jump into the categories, these are built roughly how I would build them, and then we'll go into specific builds for individual categories later, but this is just to show you guys the time to kill of all these different weapons. So Type 100, the important things here are recoil booster, rapid barrel, and then the Russian short 36 round mag. The Arma, there's a couple different ways to build this, one with the precision barrel, and then one with the ADS strafe barrel. We'll talk about that when we get there, but precision increases headshot damage but reduces a couple of the body shot locations. And then obviously recoil booster to get better time to kill again. PPSH, this is going to be a hipfire gun, obviously. So recoil booster, and then the 230mm barrel. The Sten actually can have really good time to kill nowadays. So recoil booster, rapid barrel, those are essential. The rapid barrel is essential for the Sten. So this is a good example. Like the Sten can have insane strafe speed, but you can't build it that way because you have to use the rapid barrel. And if you use the rapid barrel, then you can't use the ADS strafing barrel. In order to get those good time to kills, you just have to use the rapid barrel. So there are other guns that end up having better time to kill because they can actually use that strafe barrel, and the Arma is one of those where the Arma doesn't really need the precision barrel. So you can put the strafe barrel on there, and then it ends up faster than the Sten with better time to kill than the Sten. So there's a lot of things to balance in this, and that's why this was a difficult video to make. Then we get the Blixen. This is the Blixen with recoil booster, the barrel that helps with recoil, and then either the 54 round mag or the 36 round mag. 54 round mag's the headshot increasing magazine. The 36 round mag is the body shot increasing magazine. We got two Marco 5s on here, one with the Perfetto Lesto barrel, which basically just increases damage across a few different shot locations, and then we also have the 240mm VL barrel, which increases your fire rate by about 11%. So obviously there's some balancing there to talk about as well. And then Marco 5 Akimbo, that's a unique one that we're going to probably briefly talk about. But it's just there's a lot of things to balance when building these guns. But you can look at this chart and see that the Type 100 right away, this is 300 health combination shots, standard shot location percentages. Obviously, another thing I want to mention, these are just my standard percentages. I mean, you can tweak this infinite different ways to have the results come out however you want. This is just what I tend to stick to. There's too many situations to actually have a true answer to what kills the fastest, obviously. So this is just the best we can do. You can tweak these. We're going to be releasing default values for these on your account in the next few days. So you'll be able to save whatever percentages you want to use on your account. Anytime you're logged in, it'll automatically update to those percentages. But I think that people think maybe it's actually possible to really know like which gun's going to be best for you, and that's just not true. I mean, there's just too many factors that go into this. The shot location percentages are going to be completely different based on each individual fight, even not just you as a person. Like obviously you don't hit the same percentage every single time you fight a different person, so it's just tough to really nail down exactly one specific best thing. Sometimes there's guns that stick out, of course, which is what this list is, but overall it's really tough to really nail down something just because there's so many different situations that can happen. But if you look at this, yeah, Type 100 is going to come out on top. Type 100 just has insane time to kill across the entire body and insane range. You can put hollow point on it and still get all the way out to 17.5 meters, which is crazy. That's longer than every other SMG by a significant amount, and they don't even have hollow point most of the time. And then we have the Akimbo Marco 5. Obviously, that's really only effective out to about 10 meters, so you're going to start missing shots after that. It's actually really good, though, and really fun. And then we have the Marco 5 with the VL barrel. This is the bullet velocity barrel, or not the bullet, the fire rate barrel. And unfortunately, this only has a range of 8.8 meters, but you can see even out in that second range, out to 13 meters, it still competes with the other SMGs. It's a little bit slower. So really, you can kind of think of this as it's going to kill really fast up close, and then just a tiny, tiny bit slower than the other SMGs out to 13 meters. And then after that, it's pretty slow. So you get about 13 meters of real, effective range with a nice benefit of having a crazy fast time to kill in that first 9 meters. And then We have the PPSH, the Arma, and the Marco 5 with the other barrel, the Perfetto Lesto barrel, and those all sit right at about 600 milliseconds, and they all have similar range. And then also both Blixen with the Blixen with the 36 and the Blixen with the 54 both have that same 600 millisecond time to kill, so they're all kind of sitting right in that same spot, and that goes all the way out to 16.3 meters with that barrel. So that's why the Blixen's so good, is it's just kind of really mashed, like it's a jack of all trades. It's really good at everything, but it is kind of hard to nail down whether you should use the 36 or the 54 round mag. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. And then last up is the Sten, which is about 640 milliseconds, which is slightly slower, but still a very good time to kill and tons of range. The first category we are going to look at is the ADS movement category. So I've built these out for ADS movement with time to kill in mind, like I said, and that only factors in really to the Sten and the Marco and a little bit into the Arma. So the Sten, like I mentioned before, in order to get decent TTK at all, you have to use the rapid barrel, which means that you can't use the ADS movement barrel, which means that knocks its ADS movement down a bunch, but it gives you a much better time to kill. And it already had really good ADS movement to start with, so it's still usable and it's still viable in this category. Marco 5 is similar in that you need to use this barrel, I don't remember what it's called, the Perfetto Lesto barrel, which also helps with damage, but it also helps with your ADS movement speed, which means you can't use that VL barrel, which gives you the best time to kill because it helps with fire rate. So that's another one where the barrel kind of balances out a little bit, where you can't use the barrel that gives you the best time to kill if you want the best strafe speed. And then the Arma, again, you can use the short barrel on the Arma, which is the strafe barrel or the ADS movement barrel. And that makes it so you can't use the precision barrel, which is a barrel that helps with headshot damage. So it kind of affects the damage of these guns in some cases. The Blixen is the rare case where the damage values come from the magazine, not the barrel, so you can actually use that Carlson 17 custom ADS movement barrel. But anyway, I digress. Looking at these time to kills here, you can see that they all sit right at about 600, which is basically the same. This is still 300 health combination shots. And then the Sten is a little bit slower at 640. Again, that's going to be these are basically the same time to kills we saw on the other chart. The Marco was the slower TTK of the two versus that VL barrel, but very good time to kill. The most range is going to be the Sten, but it's also going to have the worst time to kill. And then if we actually look at the strafe speeds, let's go over to the summary table and look at our ADS movement speed, 5.28 for the Arma, which is just insane. 4.09 for the Blixen, 4.39 for the Sten, 4.25 for the Marco. So that in mind, and then looking at the time to kill chart on top of that, the Arma in orange, to me, kind of stands out as the top pick here because we're focusing on ADS movement and it still has a competitive time to kill. It has a big mag, has controllable recoil, has good movement speed. So in my mind, the Arma comes out on top. And then the other three are all, you can decide for yourself. They all have, their pros and cons. The Sten has very little recoil. The Blixen has very little recoil. The Marco has great regular movement. But yeah, Arma Guerra is going to win the ADS movement category. So the recommended build for the Arma, which is the ADS movement, ADS strafe, ADS firing, strafing king in the game, is going to be recoil booster. The short barrel, this is the ADS movement barrel. Slate reflector, whatever optic you want to use there. Skeletal stock, this is the ADS movement stock. The compact underbarrel for more ADS movement. 9mm 60 round mag. You don't really need to use the other mags that change the caliber. They just don't seem to do much. I like subsonic. You can use whatever you want here, but I'm a big fan of subsonic personally. I think staying off the minimap is a lot more important than most people give it credit for. Groove grip, ADS movement as well, and firing movement. So when you start firing, you'll move even faster. And then steady is the same thing. It's ADS firing movement, and then quick for better overall mobility. Fantastic gun, best strafe speed for a viable time to kill sort of weapon in the game. Yeah, so it's a super fun gun to use. Next category up is going to be movement speed. So really there's only two guns that stand out here to me in terms of movement, and that's the Marco 5 and the Blixen. Both of these have crazy movement tack sprint, especially if you build them for that. So this is the new tool on TGD that's going to have like all the stats. You can do a best stat lookup for any stat basically. It says DPS, it's not quite finished, it's very close. but that's actually meters per second on this since we're looking at attack sprint. So I just added the Marco and the Blixen, and you can see that the Marco is the fastest at 9.51 with the Perfetto Lesto barrel, Mark 6 skeletal, the folding stock, and then quick. So this is just crazy fast, 9.51 meters per second. And then the fastest Blixen, and the Blixen can stay this fast because it doesn't rely on a barrel for this. You can use whatever barrel you want, and you can use whatever mag you want as far as the 36 or the 54 round, because that's not included in this. So Mark 6 skeletal, taped grip, remove stock, fleet, or quick. All of these have just really big effects on your attack sprint. And I think attack sprint is the most important movement. That's why we're looking at that for the movement category. H4 Blixen is at 9 meters per second as compared to the Marco 5's 9.5. So Marco is quite a bit faster. Time to kill wise, as I've shown before, these builds are very similar. You can still build them for their best time to kill, even when you build them for their best mobility. So yeah, I think that the Marco 5 wins the best movement category just because it has the best movement and it still has really good time to kill. And this Perfetto barrel is the barrel that helps with damage a little bit as well. So both great guns. You're going to have more damage range with the Blixen, but the Marco is fantastic as well. All right, so the movement king, the Marco 5. We've got recoil booster, Perfetto Lesto barrel. This is the ADS movement, regular movement, helps with ADS time, sprint to fire time. Recoil is pretty low on this gun, so we don't really care that this hurts recoil. Whatever optic you want. The movement speed stock. This also helps with initial recoil, but it hurts your sustained recoil. This gun does have a lot of visual recoil, but the actual recoil that you have to control is not too bad. And the shaking is so fast with the visual recoil that it almost just kind of like becomes less of a problem. Like if the shaking was slower with the magnitude that it is, I think it would be more annoying than it is. Mark 6 skeletal. This is for ADS time and movement speed. I think the 64 round mag is the best. Just better hipfire, which you're not really going to use very much. Better recoil, which is always a plus, and obviously you get 64 rounds. And then we've got subsonic again, same reason as before. I just really like subsonic, staying off the minimap. Taped grip's still an insanely good attachment, even after it's been set back to where it was supposed to be. Helps with your movement speed, weapon swap quickness, and your sprint to fire time. All three of those things are super important. This can allow you, if you have another Vanguard gun with taped grip, to potentially not even use amped, so that saves you an entire perk slot, which is awesome. And then for perk 1, Frenzy, this basically replaces quick fix. So again, this is another perk slot that you get opened up, or you can use momentum if you want better movement speed after you kill someone. I think these are both pretty good. Gung Ho has been nerfed, so it no longer helps your sprint to fire time. It only makes it so you can fire while sprinting, so it's not nearly as good as it used to be. So I think I would say momentum or frenzy. And then perk 2 is just gonna be quick. That's just a general pick for pretty much all SMGs that just helps with your attack sprint and your regular sprint. All right, onto the hipfire category. There's really only a couple contenders here, and that's the Marco 5 or the PPSH. So there's a bunch of different kinds of hipfire, but the one that probably matters the most would be like when you're moving and you're strafing. So that's what I tend to do when I'm testing this, is I'll just strafe back and forth like this and then measure the size of the hipfire. So let's just shoot all 71 from the PPSH real fast doing this. Obviously this is not a super precise measurement. And then let's do the same with the Marco. Marco has much less recoil, so it's much easier for me to get a consistent hipfire pattern. So, I mean, not a whole lot of difference here. They're pretty much the same in terms of the actual hipfire cone. Both fantastic, both great hipfire guns, very effective out to about 10 meters. But let's go look at the time to kill of these two and compare how that comes out. All right, so I've got the 3 viable hipfire options on here. We've got the Marco 5. Unfortunately, you can't use the damage increasing barrel or the fire rate increasing barrel because you need to use the hipfire reducing barrel. So you're just going to have the default damage profile for the Marco 5. PPSH, I've got that built out with the hipfire barrel. And then obviously Marco 5 with Akimbo. Akimbo comes out on top in terms of time to kill for sure, just because, it has insane fire rate. It's really only effective about 10 meters, and obviously you can't ADS with it at all, so that means that you're never going to be able to kill somebody at like 20 meters if you accidentally have your SMG out when you should have had your AR out. PPSH and Marco have basically the same time to kill here. The advantages and disadvantages: Marco 5 has more damage per mag. It shoots a lot slower and still has 64 bullets, so that's a pretty big advantage for the Marco. It can put out just crazy amounts of damage with that mag. It also has better recoil, so the PPSH tends to have pretty bad recoil when you build it for Hipfire. So if you ever need to ADS, which you will in some cases, the Marco 5 is going to come out on top in that case as well. PPSH advantage is that it shoots faster. So it's kind of an advantage and a disadvantage to shoot faster, because that means that you have lower damage per mag for the same number of bullets. But it means it's a little more forgiving. If like one bullet misses with both, then PPSH is going to put off another shot faster. So that's a little bit more forgiving in a lot of cases. But overall, I'm going to give the edge to the Marco 5 for Hipfire here, just because there are a lot of situations where you're still going to have to ADS. You can't Hipfire all the time. And the Marco 5's ability to ADS, have less recoil, it's going to have better mobility as well, just because it just has crazy movement as the base gun itself, and it has good attachment stats for that as well. I think overall the Marco might be the new best Hipfire option, just for anyone, but the PPSH is great as well. That fire rate is really, really nice. So this is the Hipfire build for the Marco. Pretty simple. You basically just put every single attachment on there that you can for Hipfire. So we've got the custom barrel, that's the Hipfire barrel, the folding stock, which is the Hipfire stock, Carver foregrip, helps with Hipfire, pine tar grip, helps with Hipfire. So all these options are just purely for Hipfire. And then again, perk, you can pick whatever you want. Health regen after kills would be really good for a Hipfire build, because if you're Hipfiring, that means you're really close to someone and you're probably going to get shot by them, and they might have teammates nearby. So frenzy would be really good. And then momentum also would be great, just because you have better move speed right after you kill somebody. So again, both great choices. Quick just for movement speed. But yeah, I like subsonic. I've said this like 4 times in this video. Subsonic's pretty much what I pick all the time, except on the Type 100. The Type 100 is good with hollow point. I looked at all the numbers for every single gun. Works well with hollow point, and still has 17.5 meters after you put hollow point on. So that's the one gun that I'll use it on. All right, I'm adding some more categories as I go. TTK and DPS King, of course, is the Type 100. It has 17.5 meters of range with hollow point, and it still has this insane time to kill all the way out on combination shots. And then if you change this to DPS and you do combination DPS, so this is going to be average DPS across these shot location percentages, you're going to see that the Type 100 still just, its DPS is dramatically higher than everything else. The next closest is the Marco at 516, whereas the Type 100 is up at 548, 549, and it has twice the range that the Marco has. So the damage output of the Type 100, there's a lot of situations where somebody might get, 1 or 2 bullets from a teammate. They might just be missing a plate. It's really good to look at both time to kill and damage per second, because damage per second is kind of just a good measure of the overall damage output you're going to get with the weapon in any given situation. Yes, time to kill is very, very important, but DPS is good to look at just for all those other cases that you can't possibly account for. So you can see that the Type 100 just annihilates everything in terms of average damage per second across these shot location percentages. All right, the time to kill king, the Type 100, this is my favorite build with it. So we got recoil booster, rapid barrel. Those are the 2 things combined with the magazine and hollow point that give it just insane time to kill. You really need this rapid barrel. Gives you, for some reason, I believe, damage range and fire rate. That's a really weird combination. The last stock, the folding stock, this gives you better initial firing recoil and doesn't hurt anything else. And then also helps with your, ADS movement speed, things like that, which is always nice to have. Hand stop just feels like it helps the recoil the most on this. I think it's a visual thing. It feels like it helps the visual the most on the Type 100, which can be pretty bouncy, so that's nice to have. Taped grip just for extra mobility, but if the recoil is still too much for you, you can select either the pine tar for vertical or the hatched grip for horizontal recoil. The recoil is fine for me, and I like to keep my movement speed as fast as possible, so that's why I use taped. Since you only get 36 bullets, I like to use sleight of hand. If you're playing solos or duos, then probably just use fleet. But I tend to play trios or quads almost all the time, so that's why I use sleight of hand. And then quick, just for sprint speed. But overall, this is a ton of fun. This is one of my favorite guns. I feel like on mouse and key, in those close range fights, I almost need some sort of a crutch in order to win a fight against a controller player that's good. Because if I miss at all, then I just lose usually. And this tends to be my crutch, is this gun with its insane damage output. No matter where I shoot them, I know I'm doing tons of damage. I know I have the highest damage per second across the whole body of any gun in the game. So I love using this thing. All right, so for the all-rounder category, this is going to be a gun that's just pretty much good at everything. Has good recoil, good time to kill, good damage per mag, good mobility in every way. Really, there's 3 guns that stand out to me right now, and that's the Blixen, Marco, and Arma. The Sten is actually pretty close to this as well. It has good numbers, good mobility, very, very low recoil, and it has a 50-round mag now, so it kind of can sneak in there with damage per mag. But I really think the top 3 are going to be the Blixen, Marco, and Arma. And I'm not going to say that I know which one's better than the others. I mean, they're all fantastic, and it's going to depend on the person, how the recoil feels, just how they play out to different people. But I think they're all great choices. So let's go do an all-rounded recommended build for all three. All right, so recommended all-rounder build for the Blixen would be this. So we've got the Bergstrom barrel. This is the last barrel. It helps with the recoil control dramatically. Also gives you more bullet velocity, so your hit reg is going to feel better. It does hurt your movement speed, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed. So you'll see with some other attachments, we're trying to get those back down a little bit. But you can overcome the bad movement speed that this gives you with other attachments, and this just helps with recoil so much that it makes it a fantastic all-around SMG. One of the best in the game. Optic, pick whatever you want for stock. Like I said, the recoil is so good with that barrel that we can use this to get some of our movement speed back and sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed, even though this hurts our recoil. The combination of these two is going to be better in both categories than it was before. The Mark 6 skeletal, this helps with aim down sight speed and movement speed again, so we're bringing back some of that barrel negatives. I think the 54 round mag is great. For most people, probably going to be the choice, just because 36 rounds, even though the damage per mag is relatively high still with the 36 round, I think 54 is probably just the better choice. This just gives you a big, benefit, quite a bit more headshot damage. So every now and then when you hit a headshot, you're going to get a faster time to kill than you would have before. But the 36 is great too. I can't decide between these two personally. I usually run the 36 myself. Just because it makes the overall damage output just crazy high. But the 54 is what I would recommend for most people. Subsonic again, just because I like to stay off the minimap. Fabric grip, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed. Those are both really important. You can use this or taped grip. Taped grip would be a fantastic option as well to get some more of that movement speed back. And then fleet and quick just for maximum mobility. So this is going to have great recoil. It's going to have great mobility, great time to kill, big damage per mag. It's just a fantastic all-around SMG right now. So really my all-around build for the Marco is going to be very similar to same build that I use for the maximum movement speed. I just think that building for movement speed makes sense for this gun because the recoil is pretty low. So you're going to get crazy mobility and still have good time to kill and have, reasonably controllable recoil. So this would be the slightly worse time to kill version. And then if you swap over to the VL barrel, you're going to have less damage range, but much better time to kill. With that extra fire rate, you might want to swap to something like hand stop, which is not going to slow your movement down at all, but it's going to help you with that recoil a little bit. And this does have really shaky recoil, so something like this would be a fantastic build as well. It has crazy time to kill in that first damage range to like 8.8 meters, and then past that, it's a little bit slower. All right, on to the Arma all-round build. So this is a little bit different than what we've talked about with the Arma before, but we've got the precision barrel, recoil booster, the Mark 6 skeletal, the 60 round 9mm mag, subsonic, tape grip, steady, quick, holding stock, and then whatever optic you want. So the precision barrel is interesting. It increases your headshot damage and decreases your body shot damage. And I think if I remember correctly, the damage values come out like really perfect, like quantized. So like headshot damage will do like 51, and then body shot will do like 25. So if you think about what that means if you mix one headshot in, all of a sudden that immediately reduces the time to kill by one bullet on the body. If you mix two headshots in, because it does more than twice as much damage as a chest shot, each time you get a headshot, it's going to reduce the shots to kill by one. So that's really unique. That's a unique thing that not very many guns have. So that's why I really like the precision barrel on the Arma, and it also gives it stupidly good accuracy. Like the recoil is very controllable. So because of that barrel helping with recoil so much, we can kind of just build it for speed everywhere else. So that's why pretty much every other attachment you see here, I just picked for movement speed for mobility reasons. And overall, this is a fantastic all-round SMG in the current meta. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the video. That's all I wanted to cover. I spent a ton of time on this pretty much all day yesterday and then a few more hours today working on this, but it's just pretty confusing to try to, pick a single best gun in like SMGs. So that's why I didn't do the same ranking thing. I wanted to just put them into categories, talk about which ones are the best in each category and why they're the best. And I hope you liked that format. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this sort of format for SMGs in the future. I know I've ranked them in the past. Pretty much every single time I make a video, I'm just winging it, to be honest. Like I put a lot of research into it, but like the format of the video and how I present the information tends to be different almost every time. So let me know if you liked this format or what you'd like to see done differently. But I hope you guys all have a great day, and I appreciate all the support you give me, and I'll see you in the next video.